Unfortunately, this one was one that was bodged back together. Expandable foam in sills. So we originally had the GT Junior brought to us for restoration, and at the time we was doing the other restomod that we'd already done, KCK, and the guy saw that and went, oh, that's sort of interesting. So we're already at the Metalwork stage at this point, and we was nearing the end of KCK. So the gentleman that owns this car saw that and went, could you do that to my car? So that sort of set the seed in his head about the improvements that we've done, and it sort of evolved from there. KCK was a step-nosed junior, so it got the earlier style dashboard, which he liked. He didn't like the dashboard that was in his car, so that sort of started a seed in his head that then sort of evolved into him decisions on what we did to his car as we went on through the restoration. So when the car came to us, it was a South African import, which is normally either a car that comes to you visibly rotten, or was visibly rotten and just quite simply been bodged back together to get it out of the way.
Found the fuel tank was only secured by a single screw, and then the rest of it was foam tape and a lot of this sealant.
Unfortunately, this one was one that was bodged back together. Expandable foam in sills. It used to have a sunroof that had a plate really roughly welded in the roof and then just sort of filled over. There was fiberglass in the wheel arches. The general condition was pretty darn bad. We had the car chemically dipped to remove not only the paint, but the filler, the fiberglass, the expandable foam. Everything that shouldn't be there was removed, and when it came back from the dippers, it was like, oh right, okay, we need to have a bit more of a serious conversation about this project. It's massively escalated from what it originally was. And it transpired that in the end, we ended up making a roof skin, which you can't buy a roof for one of these. So I fully kitted out a metal shop, Dad's blessing, rolled up a roof. The throat on our English wheel was just big enough for us to make it in one piece. And pretty much every panel that you can buy, we brought, and the ones that you couldn't buy, we made. The chassis rails was quite bad. We made the decision to, like we did on KCK, to sort of clean the engine bay up. That was a decision made at the Metalwork stage, so we removed the battery box from the engine bay. We've gone on a dual circuit brake setup on this. So in the process of doing that, we could get rid of all of the brackets from the original brake servo setup that the car originally had. So no, that was a decision made at the Metalwork. And then same with the interior. There was bits and bobs on the interior that we sort of removed and moved around, just sort of sleeking it up and tidy it up. Engine-wise, engine was, if I remember right, down on compression, and it got some leak down problems, so it was just generally worn and tired. So again, we had the conversation, and what we ended up doing is kept the original block and head, so still a 2 litre, and then we just did a full rebuild, higher compression, set of fast road cams that was suited to us doing the injection route, basically. So, but everything, basically the block on the head of the original bits, but everything else has all been replaced, machined, fettled, to give it another, long-term lease of life. The guy, like I said, saw the other project we did and went, quite like that idea. I like classic cars, but I don't like the idea of pulling chokes out, and on a hot summer's day it struggles in traffic. And so we had the conversation with him and showing him what we did on KCK with the Genby Heritage throttle bodies, which gives you that original look. So untrained eye look in the engine bay and go, it just looks like a 2-litre Nord engine. As we're doing the running in miles with this, you can quite happily pootle along 40 mile an hour in 5th gear quite easily. Obviously you have to drop it down a gear if you want to get going again, but you know, you get that drivability. Something that we noticed is fuel economy is tremendous compared to it being on carburettors, because when you're on carburetors, you've got no real way of metering the fuel. It doesn't know whether you've got half throttle, full throttle, or whatever. It's just fuel, fuel, fuel. Where with fuel injection, obviously, you've got throttle angle, so it knows where your foot is, and it can sweeten up the mixtures accordingly. Same as when the engine's cold, it'll richen the mixture up when it's cold to keep it happy, and then weaken it off once you get up to temperature. So it just gives you that sort of modern drivability that you wouldn't normally get with a carburettor car. People you have a conversation with people and they go, oh, you'll lose the classicness of the car, and that's not the case at all. It's still an old car, you know, it still feels like an old car. It's got, I always say to people, you remain the quirks of an old car, but the nice bits of a modern car. So we spoke to Classic Alfa, that we get a lot of our stuff through. So we put one of their road handling kits on, which comprises of some eye-back springs, set of Bilstein dampers, and a big front anti-roll bar. So you remove the rear anti-roll bar, you put a big front roll bar on the front, and that gives you that pointiness at the front end. We then put a gripper limited slip diff in the car, not only to get the extra grunt down on the ground, but also it improves with throttling while you're in a corner. You sort of it sort of pulls you around the corner a little bit more, so you get that sort of it makes the car feel so much faster. It's difficult to explain until you actually drive. It makes the car feel faster. To say you're around a long sort of sweeping bend, where before you'd be a bit like with a classic car, where this one you can get your foot back in, you know, and get on with things. It does really make the drivability much more forward going, is probably the phrase I'll use. And then with the brakes, again, we've put a big brake kit from Classic Alfa, so nice big 4-pot calipers on the front, retained the original calipers on the back with some groove discs, and then put some Ferodo fast road pads in it. And then for the hydraulic side of the system, we then used a dual circuit setup. So that gives you front and rear bias adjustment. So again, you can get your ducking and your diving right in the car, and just give you a nice firm driver's brake pedal is what I'll call it. Not too firm, so it doesn't feel like a 50s car where it's a horrible, like, really tough on your legs to press. Not that case at all. It's sort of a nice modulated pedal. Still feels like an old car, but they do really stop. So on the interior, the car originally had got, so although it's a 70s car, Alfa Romeo being Alfa Romeo, they almost made like an 80s dashboard. And it's a bit like, it's like a plastic binnacle that doesn't really look very classy, I think is probably the phrase to use. So we had an at length conversation that went on for quite a few months, probably a bit longer than what it should have done, to be fair, about do we go with the really early dashboard, which is basically the total flat board one with 2 gauges. Do we go with the middle era, is the phrase that I always use, the one that's got 2 bulbous gauges and then your 2 down the middle? Or do we keep with the later dashboard like it's got with I'll call it the 80s style binnacle, and then the center console? So we to and fro, to and fro. I actually started making the bespoke loom for the car. I started making that with the assumption that it's going to have its original dashboard. So we went down that route, and as we were still to and fro messages, and I was sort of thinking, am I doing the right thing in making the loom this way? But what I came up with is it doesn't matter what dashboard we have in it. I'll wire the car correct to the area of the car, and then we'll just make an adapter harness to adapt it to whatever dashboard get to in the end. So then we set in stone that we was going to have the middle ground dashboard, the one that we've actually got, which then set a whole new world of misery finding one. So we got a dashboard that was, well, it looked like it had been dug up from the Titanic basically. It was pretty horrendous. So we found a dashboard. We've got no instruments, no mounting brackets, no small gauges, no glove box door, no wooden fills, no chrome in fills, basically nothing. Basically a pretty wore out dashboard, which was the only one we could find in Europe, the world. Basically, we scoured everywhere, everybody we knew, all the companies that we've used in the past. So we got a dashboard, woohoo! We sent that off to be trimmed, and then we set to then trying to find all the other bits. The glove box door came from New Zealand. One of the little gauges came from the UK. One of the little gauges came from Germany. The small dash instrument panel, the one that goes in the middle, I think that was Spain. The two big instruments, they was somewhere the other side. I can't remember where they was from off the top of my head. Thankfully, when we made the decision about the dashboard, I had some concerns. Is a Junior the same as a GT? So I borrowed the dashboard out of KCK because that wasn't in it yet. Even though that's a left-hand drive car and we're a right-hand drive car, I thought surely the dashboard bit will be the same from right-hand to left-hand steer. So I dry fitted the dashboard out of KCK and went, yeah, okay, it does fit. So then we sort of pushed on. I finished the loom to a GT specification, while all the built parts of the puzzle for the dashboard sort of came together, which we then got them all together, and then I set to then making an adapter loom to move the wiper switches from the center console to up here, to move the little gauges from the plastic binnacle down to the center, and then the wiring that was originally for the big gauges to split that off to feed the individual little gauges for the middle era dashboard. We had the conversation about getting rid of the bumpers, and then it leaves the bulges where the bumpers once was. And in getting rid of the bumpers, you then leave the horrible, just square side light indicator on the front. When you get rid of the bumper, it sort of makes that look more bulbous. So then it's like, right, okay, we need to have a decision about what we're going to do. So we toed and froed about keeping the 4 lights on the front, whether to keep just the 2 lights, whether to keep the 4 lights, have the 4 lights all big, whether to have it big and small, what to do with the indicators, what to do with the side lights. So we basically did some photoshops. Front on photograph of the car, some round headlights, and kept moving things around. We toed and froed several messages with the client until we came up with what we've got. I come up with the idea of putting the side lights in with the headlights, and then that gets rid of a light out the bottom, and then the process of doing that, move the indicators out slightly, and that sort of brought it much more into proportion. So we got rid of the bulge where the bumper once was. We then Frenched in some little indicators, Frenched them back in, put the side light in with the dip beam light on the outer side. So that sort of cleaned the front up. Then on the back, got rid of the bumper on the back, and they've got a real chunky looking number plate mount originally, with the number plate lights in. So we deleted that. The reverse light originally mounts on the bumper as well. So what do we do with the reversing light? So we got a nice LED unit and Frenched that in low down at the bottom. You can't even see it, you sort of have to bend down before you can sort of see it. So it's sort of blended that in. Again, got rid of the bulges from the bumper, which is sort of give it that lovely sort of rounded look. Instead of it having the later GT lights, which are sort of big chunky things. With him seeing KCK, went, oh, I quite like them lights. So we shrunk the lights down and fitted the earlier style lights, which again sort of cleaned the back up, gives you a bit more bodywork back, so you give you a bit more red back and sort of makes it look almost rounded, the back of the car more rounded. We went for a smaller stuck-on number plate with a tiny little LED number plate light, just enough for rules and regulations. And we've got a nice performance exhaust system that we then modified, shortened it with us getting rid of the bumper because obviously it would stick out too far, so we sort of modified that and moved that back a little bit. And it just sort of gives the car like I say to people, it makes the car look so much more rounded with getting rid of all the lumps and bumps and making the lights round and Frenching that reverse light in and getting rid of that number plate bracket. It just makes it look much more cuddly, I think is probably a good word. So the way we document stuff is with Global Workshop. So this client doesn't live too far away, but is an extraordinarily busy guy. So all the way through the project, from strip down to where the car sits today, we've done updates all the way through. I think there's like well over like 150 updates on this project, because we did updates when the car came to us, updates during the stripping down, all the horrors that we found along the way. So the client was 100% seeing what we're seeing in the strip down procedure. We take hundreds of photographs of the car that we put on the system, not necessarily for the client to see, but for us when we put it back together again, just knowing what goes where, so we can, hundreds of photographs, document what we've done, where we've done it, for the workshop point of view, and then obviously update the client about, oh look, we've done this, oh look, your car's back from paint, we've done this, we've done that, and they can sort of see, and you can put ideas to them. So regarding, as I was discussing, the light modifications, that was all done through Global Workshop. So that was Photoshop some pictures, put them on the system, he replied to it, drew on some of them, sent them back to us, but that was all done through the system. And same as documenting the parts, that was all done through there as well. So it's just a combined way of documenting everything from our time to the project, to the client, to questions, to answers, seamless sort of all the way through.